Good morning. Tim from AWT Trading coming at you with this morning's pre-market prep. Stocks to watch for trading and investing, and something that I do every single day for the pro members over at AWT Trading with the pre-market prep video. We just take a look at things that are moving from post-market and pre-market news releases and earnings, all that kind of stuff, and try to identify some potential trading opportunities, whether that be for just a quick scalp or possibly for an investment. But let me go ahead and get started with the list. LQMT, actually, this is one that I do have a small position left after this big run. Sold out of my most of my position, been holding it, looking for a pullback, and we got that pullback yesterday. Actually, I was looking for about a 16-cent entry to jump back into this name. Now, this is a penny play, not for everybody. I get it. OTC stock, I get it. But you know what? I really don't care. I actually know quite a bit about this company. It's in the best financial position that it's ever been in, actually, since being on the exchange. And, this had a pretty good sell off yesterday and a good reversal with some pretty good volume, 20 million shares trading hands. Insiders buying shares, the CEO bought shares at 25 cents, I believe also at 16 cents. And I was looking to hopefully get back in at 16. Now, did have a pretty strong reversal day. Stochastic starting to curl up. We'll have to see if this can continue. Now it's got a lot of resistance overhead. You got the 200-day overhead, but I think this is worth keeping an eye on. Maybe even could be for a day trade opportunity, could be for a swing, could be for a long-term investment, depending on what your risk tolerances are. If you're shy or gun shy about playing stocks like this, you play it size appropriate. You treat it as a lottery ticket. That's what I do a lot of the times when I'm not really that comfortable, but I think there could be some, look, high risk, high reward, right? High risk, high reward, potentially. It's a lottery ticket, but I think it's worth keeping an eye on LQMT. So NXTD just had some news this morning that the Garmin Pay is now live on the Vivo Active 3 smartwatch. Look, that's great. It sounds a little fluffy. The stock is getting a little pop in pre-market. It's already pulled back. It got up to about $1.70. I don't even know anybody that has a Garmin Vivo Active 3 smartwatch. So, I don't know how important that is to NXTD. So there is a gap that looks like it just filled on the daily. You got a lot of moving average resistance overhead. It's a low float stock. We have low float mania happening right now. Maybe this goes crazy, but I would be only playing this as a day trade scalp opportunity. I absolutely would not chase it, and make sure you play it size appropriate. Okay. All right, HEAR. Here's another penny stock. I know it's just like penny crazy stuff here. CEO actually bought 83,000 shares at 54 cents. That was announced yesterday. That's not a tremendous amount of money. This stock is probably going to be looking at, getting a letter from the NASDAQ for being below $1 and maybe has to do a reverse split. Who knows? They just guided down on their earnings estimates. So, there's some negative stuff going on there, but doesn't mean that this can't trade. You can't get a little scalp out of it. I mean, 50 cents is looking like all-time lows, I think, on HEAR. It's got a small float. Maybe this gets a boost. I would look for a quick scalp. Maybe it's a high risk swing lottery ticket. I think potentially you get a pop up into the 70-cent range, maybe even up to 80 cents or so. But again, this is just a high risk play and worth keeping an eye on it for a quick scalp if there is some serious volume there. METC, this is a recent IPO. Coal, looks like this thing got whacked maybe off of earnings. Not a good looking chart at all. Lower, it's going from the right to the lower left. I mean, it's just not a good looking trend on this chart. But had some insiders buying shares. It's basically right around $4 is where they've been picking up shares. 77,000 shares, again, not a huge amount of shares, but some shares nonetheless. And, coal names, we'll see how these things, you know, it is winter, right? Coal typically does better in the winter, but we'll see. We'll see how this thing plays out. This could be a bounce play. Um, Higher risk. This also only has 10.9 million shares in the float with 22% short interest. Could get a little interesting. Uh, I wouldn't chase it. I really would be just looking probably for a day trade opportunity in there. XGTI reported a fairly sizable order for them. Now these guys traded had earnings already behind them. The report was for, I believe, a $12 million contract, and this got a little bit of a pop off of that news. Now the chart is not all that great. This has only got 11 million shares in the float, 12% short interest. This is potentially a day trading opportunity. It gapped up to $1.87, and let's say that puts us up here at some we got some potential price resistance right around $1.85. Got up to about $1.87. It's already pulled back to $1.70. What I'm looking at is maybe a pullback to 160, 50-day moving average here. We've got some potential price support there. Could be a pullback there, bounce. Look for some volume. Again, another potential trade opportunity, day trade opportunity in XGTI. The contracts that they have been reporting in the past were 300,000, 400,000. So a $12 million contract for them is probably pretty substantial, I would think. So worth at least keeping an eye on this XGTI for a potential day trade. SKIS. So, this has got an interesting look. This is another small floater, 9.7 million shares in the float. And I think we're kind of heading into ski season right now. Consolidating right there at the 200-day. You got an upward sloping 20-day, 50-day, flirting with the $5 holla. I love round number rolls. It's got an interesting look. It hasn't been on the, it's been around since 2016, but pretty good look here on this skis. If it gets any kind of volume on a break over this trend line, basically we're looking for what? 520, 525, break over that with some conviction, could get a nice little pop in skis. Now, keep in mind, this traded 20,000 shares yesterday, so there's not a lot of liquidity to be able to get in and out. So you've got to take that into consideration before jumping into a stock like that. But I think it is worth at least having on your radar and look for some volume for a potential play. NGVC. So, there's a couple stocks in this space that could benefit. This one, Vitamin Cottage, okay, this reported earnings that guided in line is getting a little bit of a pop last night. Let me see if it still is today. NGVC got a pop up to about $6. It's pulling back. So, flirting with the round number roll, $6. Going to have some resistance maybe there at about $6.32. Does have a gap to fill on the daily up to about 750 or so. Take out that trend line, take out the 100 EMA. Potentially you got something going. This is gapping on not a lot of volume. Okay, so if you don't feel comfortable playing the stock that's got 7.9 million shares, almost 30% short interest, that is in a downtrend like that, maybe what you're looking at, there's a couple sympathy plays, right? We could look at GNC, which has reported earnings. Now this is an ugly chart as well, right? Bear flag, and then it broke down, bear flag again. Chief Merchandising Officer just picked up 20,000 shares at $5.80, right? You've had other insiders buying over $7 in this name. It's got a pretty big short interest, 57 million shares in the float. Uh, could look for a quick day trading opportunity here if this moves in sympathy with NGVC. And then there's another one, also VIPS, Vitamin Shops, which also has had an interesting move in the last couple of days. Just closed above the 50-day moving average, flirting with the 9 roll, and I believe it actually was testing. It was above 9 in pre-market. Now this one's already moved a couple of days in a row. This could maybe get a third day move up to about $9.50, where we've got a little bit of price resistance here, and you also have the 100 EMA that could act as support. Prices, okay, that's what happened. SNES. SNES had a really nice looking chart on the daily. They, you know, oh, SNES, hold on. They had a nice chart on the daily, really good looking setup. Had some news, popped and pulled, and then tanked. And now they just announced an offer. They announced an offering, and that's what brought the sucker down. And they just priced it. It was down another 30 cents this morning. It closed at $1.35. It was down in the 90-cent range, and now. Okay, so they priced an offering at $1, and then they also have $1.50 warrants. So that likely is going to be under pressure today. Priced offering. $1. Warrants at 1.50. November 15. Okay, so that's what happened with SNES. I was thinking there could have been a snapback bounce play, but now that we've got the pricing on that, maybe not. Maybe not so much. EGLT had some news actually it was halted yesterday. Had some news, big pop, closed right at the 50-day moving average, right at potential price resistance. Got up to the 100 EMA, right up into where you got this gap that could potentially fill. Pulled back. This could be a little wild child. This only got 13.5 million shares in the float, 33.5% short interest. So it's got a small float, got a big short interest. These things have been, Benzinga Pro. GE CEO Flannery buys 60,000 shares at $18.27. Interesting. GE could have found its bottom in the 1750 area, but that's a long-term hold possibility and potential, and maybe it's found its bottom. I don't know. I think we need to see it go retest that bottom. But EGLT. So EGLT, they did an offering at 180 with warrants priced at 270. So that we could see a pop, maybe close that gap. I think it's worth keeping an eye on EGLT, and since that GE news just popped up on Benzinga about the insider buy, let's just take a quick look at it. I think it kind of is looking like a bear flag, actually. I think we need to come down and retest the 1750 area and see if that holds as potential support. But GE is on my radar at some point to take a position in the long-term hold portfolio as an investment, and one that I may build a position into. That noise you just heard was from Benzinga Pro. Looks like AMRS just sold, port sale of AMRS Brazil to DSM for $96 million. That was a merger acquisition alert that I had there. All right, so the last thing I'm gonna wrap this up. The last thing I want to talk about is DCIX, which looked like they had absolutely terrible, horrendous earnings, is getting some action this morning. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it did another reverse split, but it's up 78%. Um, this is one of those low float crazy things. Can you play it? Sure, but just play it size appropriate and don't chase it. TOPS is also moving in sympathy, so we could have another crazy shipper day. Do not chase these things, please. They are going to halt. They can halt, and you just got to be very, very careful with these things. Play them size appropriate, but it does look as though shippers could be hot again today. And then actually, I don't know if we went over NVFY. They reported earnings. This one is this can have a pretty nice move, but NVFY it's had some nice runs in the past, but it can be a pop and plopper. So it's getting a little bit of a pop off of earnings. Let me see if it's what it's doing right now. Got up to about $2.35. Now it's trying to hang out at $2. Uh, maybe 2 axis support for a bounce. Could be a scalp opportunity there. And actually, you know what? I want to bring up 2 other ones. SPL Splunk. SPLK. Reported earnings and is gapping up this morning. Pretty good look on SPLK. That is, only 137 million shares in the float. Almost 10% short interest. This one could be worth keeping an eye on. It gapped up to nearly $80. I was thinking maybe a pullback to $74. How did I come up with that? Just looking at this area of potential support, right? It acted as resistance. Maybe $74 area is where we see a pullback and some support on SPLK. Now this could be a swing or long-term hold on a pullback to support. Worth keeping an eye on that one. And then Tesla. I don't know if anybody saw their car and their truck last night, but that car was unreal. Beautiful. 0 to 60 in like 1.3 seconds or some crazy thing. Tesla's gapping, right? And Tesla is not a thick stock. I mean, it's a pretty thin stock actually. 100 million shares is not all that much, right? 28, almost 30% short interest. Shorts could get hurt in this thing. Maybe look for a pullback to 320 or so, 315. See if that were hold 315, 316. See if that holds support for a bounce. But Tesla could be a day trading opportunity as well. Okay, one last one. Boozy. Now, Vuzi's already had a pretty nice run, actually. Director bought shares at $5.95. CEO bought shares at $6.10. I think maybe on a pullback to $6, that could be a pretty nice entry, potentially a swing, or even long-term hold consideration. These are AR/VR guys. But this has got actually got a pretty decent look to it. Now, it's already run quite a bit. So on a pullback to $6, which is where these insiders are buying, $6 or maybe even $5.50, you get a pullback to the 50-day moving average. That could be an interesting spot to maybe get involved for a swing or long-term hold consideration. Could also be a day trading opportunity because it's had some decent range the last couple of days. It's over the 200-day. Look for a pullback and test of that 200-day. See if it bounces. But that's it. That is my list of stocks to watch for Friday. Don't chase, this tax reform. The fact that looks as though maybe it's gaining some traction, I think is good for the markets. We were looking pretty sketchy for a little bit there as markets so there were some indexes that were showing some weakness, thinking maybe maybe we're finally going to get a correction, but you know, the positive news on this tax reform bill getting through the House, it gave the markets a little bit of a bounce. And I got to tell you, earnings season has been very good too. So, got a couple of things happening that have been pretty positive. But let's take a look at the markets real quick. Just take a look at what's happening out there. So we're basically flat. Looks like we are flat on the S&P, up a little bit with the Nas. Dow's catching a little bit of upside action. Dollar is pulling back just a tad. Gold is getting a little bit of a bid, and oil actually up a little bit. So what's the dollar doing? Dollar is basically flat. All right, so look, gold is interesting. The miners could be interesting if gold gets a pop. If dollar, you know, if the dollar really starts to tank, but I think you still need to be somewhat cautious of gold and the miners. All right, good luck trading out there. Listen, we have Alpha Wolf Trading Pro membership, annual memberships on sale. We're going to extend it to the end of November. It's the end of November. On sale for $3.99 a year. That is ridiculously cheap for everything that we offer. 10 hours of educational programming. You can come check out. You know, you get my swing and long-term hold trade plans before I take the trade. We've got chat room. Actually, we may have a brand new chat room. We're working on it right now, but pretty exciting stuff happening over at Alpha Wolf Trading. Come check it out and take advantage of the sale. All right, have a fantastic Friday. Good luck trading, and I will see you all next week.